Hey table tennis junkies, in this week's video I'll be teaching you the Pendulum dead ball serve. The dead ball serve is essentially just a no spin serve. A no spin serve it sounds easy and it is kind of easy to do, but it can also be really effective if you do it right. So I'm going to teach you a few techniques and tips that'll help you improve it. So let's get to it. Questions you might be asking are, what exactly is a dead ball serve or a no spin serve? When would you do it? Why on earth would you ever want to serve a ball without any spin on it? And what makes it so effective when you serve it? So the dead ball serve is actually one of the two most common serves done at the top levels of table tennis. The Chinese in particular are famous for only having essentially two serves, the heavy backspin and the no spin, and they just vary it constantly. These are a few quick clips of the 2019 Asia Cup between Ma Long and Fan Zhendong, and you can see just how frequently they're serving that dead ball serve. Okay, so the dead ball serve is a great serve for several reasons. One of those reasons is because there isn't a whole lot of motion or wrist movement with the dead ball, so it's a serve that you can generally rely on to keep short and to keep low. A lot of players like to do this serve towards the end of the match or if they're feeling a lot of pressure because it's so reliable. Because if you have a big stroke with lots of motion, that serve might be a little bit tougher to control than a serve where you don't have that extra motion or wrist movement. So with the dead ball serve, you're just going to be coming in and keeping the wrist pretty straight, and you're not really going to have a lot of extra motion. So because of that, it's easy to keep low and it's easy to keep short. Another reason why the dead ball serve is so good is because if you were to serve a ball with lots of side spin or a lot of spin, a lot of times the return comes back kind of weird and it hops weird and it bounces kind of funny. So with the no spin, it comes back really clean. So it's a great serve to set yourself up for the third ball attack or just for the next shot. You're not usually going to be winning the point outright with the no spin or the dead ball serve, but it's a great serve to set yourself up. Another reason why I like to do the no spin or the dead ball is because when you do it, if someone comes in and pushes it, that ball tends to sit up and it makes it real easy to come in and attack the next shot. Or if you're able to do it low and short, if they try to come over it with like a flip or a flick, then that ball tends to go in the net. So it's almost like it acts like a backspin if they try to do a topspin, and it acts like a topspin if they try to do a backspin. Another really good reason to do the dead ball serve is because it's very easy to disguise against the short backspin. So if you mix the short backspin with the short no spin, it's very hard to tell the difference between those, and it can really set yourself up. Okay, so there are a few keys to making the dead ball serve effective in a match. The first is to disguise it and make it look like the backspin serve. If you haven't seen my other videos, or if you have seen my other videos, you've probably noticed that the backspin pendulum serve is kind of the baseline for the rest of your pendulum serves. That's one of the reasons why it's so important to have a good, solid backspin serve, because it's kind of the foundation for the rest of them. So to do the dead ball serve, you really want it to look as much like the backspin serve as you can. So the first thing you're going to do is change the grip. You'll have the exact same grip as the pendulum backspin. So the index finger is going to come up, the other three fingers will come off, and even though you're not really using any wrist on this serve, you want it to look like the backspin, so you'll have the same grip as the backspin. The stance is going to be the same, so the left foot will be kind of just in front of your right foot. Not a whole lot new there either. The main difference in this is really the wrist action. So you're still going to be coming underneath the ball, but without the wrist motion, you're not really generating any spin. So in order to create spin, you have to have friction with the rubber. So if you're trying to do a dead ball serve, you're not going to have any friction, and one way to get that friction is with the wrist. So dead ball serve, no wrist. So as you're coming in on this serve, you're just going to reach back just like the pendulum backspin, and you're just going to come right through the ball just like this and just kind of come underneath. If you want to square it up a little bit, you can, but I don't usually do that in my serves. and I don't generally recommend it because if you start to square it up, it's going to pop a little bit. You might get a little bit better forward energy, but it tends to leak long. So if you can do it that way and you're comfortable doing it that way, that's fine. I don't recommend it though. Okay, I'm going to demonstrate the serve now. One thing to keep in mind while you're doing the dead ball serve is to keep it as simple as possible. So if you add extra motion or that wrist movement, it's going to you're going to lose control on the serve. So you're going to lose control and you're going to add spin, which you're really not looking for on the serve. The main thing, it's just so important with the dead ball, is to have good control and to keep it low. So as I'm doing this serve, I'm going to contact the ball as low as I can, because if I contact it high, the ball is going to travel downward and it's going to pop up, where if I contact it low, the ball is going to stay low. And that's really important with the dead ball serve more than the others, because if the ball is high, your opponent isn't going to have to deal with any sort of spin, and a high ball without spin on it is just super vulnerable, and you're probably going to end up losing that point. So the serve, it's very effective if you can do it right, but it's also very ineffective if you do it wrong. So here we go on the serve. Just notice how I'm contacting it low, I'm underneath the ball, and I'm just trying to keep it as simple as possible. So here we go. Okay, so here's the dead ball serve. So one more thing I kind of want to show you is, why am I hitting underneath the ball if I'm trying to get no spin? So as the ball travels forward, it naturally turns into a topspin. So if I serve it completely flat without being underneath it, that ball actually is going to turn more into a topspin by the time it gets to your opponent. So if I come underneath the ball, I'm not really adding much spin, but there is a little bit of backspin just because I'm underneath the ball, where that backspin is actually going to naturally turn into a topspin, but by the time it gets to your opponent, since it has the backspin, it'll actually be a no spin by the time it gets to your opponent. So that's one more reason why I'm just kind of underneath the ball and less on the back of the ball. You can see I'm not adding any wrist motion. It's very still. One last tip if you're doing the dead ball serve is you want it to look like that backspin serve. So you don't really want to combine it with the topspin, because the topspin as a returner, the return against a topspin serve and the return against a dead ball serve is very similar, where the return of the backspin serve and the return of the dead ball serve aren't so similar, and you can make them look the same as a server. So you're really trying to disguise it with the backspin and not a topspin or anything else. I recommend doing the backspin serve and then the dead ball serve. This is what the Chinese do, and they're very effective with it. So to combine it with the backspin, you're going to want to start maybe with the backspin serve and then try to just hold that look and keep that same like the whole stroke really is kind of the same, just without the wrist and without that extra oomph behind it. One more thing, I don't actually do this on my serve, but I've tried it in the past, and I know players who do this, is if you contact the ball, my racket's a little dirty here, but if you contact the ball lower, you'll get less spin than if you contact it higher up on the racket. So as you're swinging through it, if you have that wrist motion especially, it's kind of easy to see. The outer part of your racket is moving a lot more than the inner part. So you can do that and contact it closer to your hand, and it'll be less spin than if you contact it out here. I don't do that in my game. I think it's it's too hard to contact it on different extremes of your racket. But it is something you might want to try and try to practice, because if you can do that, it's very deceptive. Okay, so to recap on the tips from today, you really want to reduce your wrist action. So the more wrist you add on the ball will create more spin, which you're not really looking for on this, and it'll reduce your control on the serve. So you really just want to have a serve that you can easily control and do in tight situations. So something simple is better than something more complicated. Another tip I recommend is to mix this serve with the backspin. So if you do the backspin serves and then you mix in a no spin, your opponent will hopefully come in and push it. And if they push the no spin, it's going to pop up and you'll have an easy attack on the next ball. I don't recommend doing this, mixing it with the topspin. So if you do the topspin serve and then the no spin, the return for your opponent is very similar for these two. So you're probably not going to fool them, and if you do fool them a little bit, the effect is going to be minimal. Another major tip, probably the big one, is to contact it low. So if you contact it high, the ball is going to have to travel down and it's going to pop up. Where if you contact it low, the ball is just going to go forward. It doesn't need to have that downward motion. So if you contact it lower, the ball is going to stay lower. The last tip I recommend, and this is kind of an advanced tip, is to put maybe just a little bit of backspin on it. And what I mean by that is just maybe contact the southern hemisphere of the ball. You don't want to put actual backspin on it, because what's going to happen if you put just a tad bit of backspin, the ball is going to come over and it actually turns into topspin just by the motion of the ball moving forward. Or if you start with a no spin, the ball actually turns into a little bit of topspin with that forward energy. So when I'm doing this serve, I'm actually contacting slightly southern hemisphere and putting just a very small amount of backspin on it, and then by the time it gets to my opponent, that backspin will have already kind of converted into a no spin. Okay, so how should you prepare for the third ball after doing the dead ball serve? More so than other serves, the dead ball serve, the third ball attack after the dead ball serve really depends on how well you served it. So if you came in and you served it and it popped up, you're going to want to get back and get ready for your opponent to attack. Or if it goes long, same kind of thing. Like this serve is easy for your opponent to attack if you don't do it right. But if you do it right, then you actually want to stay pretty close to the table and get ready for the attack. So if it pops up, your opponent's not going to have to deal with any spin, so they can just kind of smash through it and not really have any issue on the return. But if you do this serve, so if you serve it and it lands low and it's short, your opponent can't really attack that ball. They're almost required to push it. So if they push it and it pops up, you got an easy one. If they push it and it goes long, then you're still going to get the attack. Really, their only good option is to play short, but a lot of times that ball is going to pop up too. So if they play short and it pops up, you can come in and attack that one. And then worst, if they drop shot it and it stays low, then you'll just have to come in and deal with it, probably play something shorter depending on how the point it plays out, or your opponent. So in general, it just kind of depends on how well you served it. If it's low, stay close. If it's high or if it's long, get back and get ready to block or to rally. That's all for today. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments, or if you use the dead ball serve in your game, I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. A game that I kind of like to play while I'm doing the dead ball serve is to see how many net balls I can get in a row, because this serve, more than any other, is so important to get as low as possible. So let's see how I do. There's one. 2, 3, touch 4. Oh, 4, okay.